Rabbi Azoi. Amongst Korach's main followers, says the first pasuk in the Parsha, are Dasan v'Aviram and Oin ben Peles, all from the tribe of Ruvain. After Moshe fails to dissuade Korach, he then goes and confronts Dasan v'Aviram. But all of a sudden, Oin ben Peles is missing. Where did he go? My hi. In late 19th century Europe, most Orthodox communities considered a formal education for a Jewish girl to be unnecessary and even detrimental. They were taught how to speak Yiddish and enough basic Hebrew to be able to read tefillah from a siddur. Yet on the other hand, the winds of communism and socialism were blowing across Europe, and more Jewish girls were going to secular schools. All of this meant that Yiddishkeit seemed archaic and unattractive, outdated. It's said that as many as 400 frum Jewish girls at the turn of the century in Krakow had converted to Christianity. Krakow was where Sarah Schneer was born in 1883 to a family of Belzer Hasidim. During World War I, she fled with her family to Vienna, where she heard the very inspiring drushes of a Talmud of Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, Rav Moshe Flesch. She returned with her family to Krakow in 1918, determined to do what so many before her, including prominent rabbis, had failed, to set up an education system for girls to inspire them, to reinvigorate Yiddishkeit, and to ultimately save them and European Jewry. She was discouraged by her own brother, but her brother agreed they should go together to the Belzer Rebbe. Her brother thought that for sure the Rebbe would discourage her, but instead when she went there, the Belzer Rebbe told her, bracha v'hatzlacha. It was ambiguous, but she took that as a sign to proceed. She was a qualified seamstress, so she started her very first class with 7 girls in her home from where she worked sewing. And the official aim of the school was to train Jewish daughters so they will serve God with all of their might and with all of their hearts, so they'll fulfill the commandments of the Torah with sincere enthusiasm. Beis Yaakov was born. Within a short time, the class had grown to 40 students. She invested all of her koach with positivity, pride, singing, ti'ulim. Now Yiddishkeit for these young girls had become appealing. Other towns started to ask Sarah Imenu, as her students knew her, to start more schools. She then started a teacher training program in order that these new girls should have whom to teach them. In 1924, crucially, the Agudas Yisrael agreed to back the plan both practically and financially. That plan eventually ended up being backed by no less than the Chaim and the Gera Rebbe. By 1937, Beis Yaakov had 35,000 students in 248 schools. What had started off as one woman's dream had become the norm. And since then, millions of girls have graduated from Beis Yaakov. Back to Oin ben Peles. Where had he disappeared to? The Gemara says that his wife, in her wisdom, saved the day. She said to him, listen, you've got nothing to gain. Right now, you're subordinate to Moshe Rabbeinu. If Korach takes over, you'll also be subordinate to him. But he responded to her, but I swore to Korach that I'll join in his rebellion. She said, don't worry, I'll take care of things. You just stay in the tent. I'll make sure they don't approach you. So she went and sat by the entrance of the tent. Now she knew that Korach and his followers, at least in their mind, were frummers, kulam kadoshim. She removed her head covering and sat by the entrance of the tent. And Korach and his followers wouldn't go anywhere near such a sight. And as a result of this, she saved her husband and all the generations which came afterwards. Says the Gemara, when Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei, Hach mois nashim bonsa besa, he was referring to the wife of Oin ben Peles. She knew, this wise Jewish woman, the needs of the hour. She chapped that, and she thought of strategies to find a solution which no one else would necessarily have thought of. Sarah Schneer had a difficult personal life. She was not zeicher to her own children, but with her ability to chap the needs of the hour, and with innovation, courage, and determination, what a house, Beis Yaakov, she built. Rav Yecheskel Sana, the Rosh Yeshiva of Hebron, once told a crowd of people that the person who had done most for Torah Yiddishkeit in the previous 100 years was not the Chaim, not the Alter Slobodka, it was Sarah Schneer. As Rav Meir Shapira once told her personally, if not for your work in educating Jewish daughters, I would have to close my yeshiva in Lublin. Once she was walking the streets of Krakow, and people who were objected to her work thinking it was tyrannical, started throwing rocks at her. She simply dusted herself down, picked up the rocks, held them in her hands, and said, "From these very rocks, I'll build the foundations of the First Base Yaakov School." That building, the First Base Yaakov School in Krakow, is now renovated. On its wall reads a plaque, which says, "A spark kindled in Krakow grew to a flame that radiated throughout Poland and across the oceans. This light of Torah continues to illuminate the hearts and minds of Jewish girls throughout the world. Hachmos Noshim, Bonsa Besa." Good Shabbos.